Hello everybody, welcome to Classic Reddit, where real humans read Reddit content. Today's question is by Locks Are Paranoid, and it is serious in brackets. What medical myth do people still believe? A response by Conflict Donuts. People always want to pee on you when you get stung by a jellyfish. It doesn't help. Keep your dick in your pants and get some vinegar to pour on it instead. Hey, that's not true. Urine is helpful for jellyfish stings, just like vinegar is vinegar is more helpful, but okay, it is true people jump to pee, but that's a real thing. That's real. Ha! I knew it. All the people who laughed at me for pooping instead of peeing on my sting are gonna feel real stupid when they find out they've been believing in a myth. Hey, I was just reading about Portuguese man-o'-wars and their venom and found this on Wikipedia. Acetic acid, vinegar, or a solution of ammonia and water is popularly believed to deactivate the remaining pneumocystes and usually provide some pain relief. Though some isolated studies suggest that in some individuals, vinegar dousing may increase toxin delivery and worsen symptoms. Vinegar has also been claimed to provoke hemorrhaging when used on the less severe stings of cynicides of smaller species. The current recommended treatment from studies in Australia is to avoid the use of vinegar, as local studies have shown this to exacerbate the symptoms. Huh. See, that's a good post. I feel like that's more authentic than the other ones. I will say that they are talking about some of the most poisonous jellyfish in the world. So I'm not sure that really is that relevant to your average get stung playing in the beach jellyfish and it gets red and people want to pee on it. Like if you get stung by a man-o'-war and people pee on you, there's cases where by the time they finish peeing, you're almost dead. So the priority really isn't the same for the most poisonous jellyfish. You know, it's really not the same. But hey, a guy actually tested this. For over 60 years, Donald L. Unger cracked only his left hand to prove that cracking knuckles doesn't cause arthritis. Huh. The person who first said this did so because the sound is getting irritating. A post by Datsuking. You can't suck the venom out of yourself from a snake bite. I don't know why movies show this. At least it's harmless. I took a poisonous bite in Sting's class, and without exception, the most gruesome results came from inappropriate use of tourniquets. As for getting out the poison, our instructor once got bitten on the thumb by a rattlesnake. Just one fang got him, and he instinctually grabbed his thumb and squeezed. He got one drop of amber fluid out of the wound. That's pretty much the best case scenario, and a bite elsewhere, I wouldn't do that. Those snake bite suction kits are worthless at best, and maybe dangerous if you use them wrong. You technically could, but you'd probably die of blood loss before you got it at all. Maddie from True Grit probably lost her arm from Cogburn putting his sickening mouth directly on the wound and not the venom. Just FYI for everyone, to treat a snake bite, bind the limb tightly from hands, feet to shoulder, thigh, without cutting off circulation, and don't move. Snake venom goes into the lymphatic system, not the blood, and if you're in Australia, you need to know what type of snake it was. The anti-venom we have now works for all, so we don't need to identify. Oh, you don't need to know what type. I forgot a negative there. Not sure about other countries than Australia. This response to what medical myth do people still believe is by Faking Gumpton. All strokes and heart attacks start with the same symptoms for all people, especially when symptoms are ignored because they don't fit what we've seen on TV or movies. A response to that. I had a heart attack at 35. I am a woman. I literally sat on the sofa for 10 to 15 minutes working out how on earth I had pulled a muscle in my shoulder. As the pain spread and changed, I then thought about if I was having some sort of panic attack. I have anxiety, so it wouldn't be unreasonable. It was 2 a.m. By the time I woke my husband to tell him I was calling the ambulance, my whole arm was numb and cold and I couldn't breathe properly. It just didn't occur to me that I could be having a heart attack. It didn't appear like any heart attack I'd ever heard of. My girlfriend's stepdad had a stroke while sitting in a recliner. He's kind of an unusual guy, and he usually just sits in his recliner and doesn't say much. One morning, my girlfriend went over there to see her mom, and her mom was talking about how weird he was acting. She said he wasn't talking to her or anything, but when he has an attitude with her, he usually doesn't say anything. My girlfriend tried getting his attention, but he wasn't really doing anything. This man was literally having a stroke the whole time, and no one even knew. They just thought he was sitting there watching television. The only way they found out is when my girlfriend's mom got home from work later that day and found out he'd gotten up and moved to the bathroom, where he fell through the door and shattered the toilet. He survived, but that's one of the craziest stroke stories I've ever heard. They certainly have different signs for different people. This is especially true for women. A lot of women can experience heart attacks as back pain. A post by Boiled Cabbage. This is how Kevin Smith got into the condition that he did. His heart attack symptoms were different from the typical arm numbness, elephant on the chest feeling. He assumed he had eaten something bad and brushed it off as food poisoning. He ignored his symptoms until they got so bad he has to go to the hospital, where he found out it was actually a bad heart attack. Had he ignored them any longer, and he could have died. There's an episode in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend where one of the main characters, Paula, is studying for a bar exam, but she's exhibiting some pretty bad symptoms that she chalks up to being the flu. She's eventually convinced to go see a doctor, and she's pretty unfazed by assuming it's simple. But then the doctor sends to the ER because she's actually having a heart attack. There's a lot of great moments in the show because it also doesn't shy away from addressing mental illness, but this one always stuck with me. Asians, particularly Koreans, love this one. Much better than admitting your kid committed suicide from the tremendous amount of societal pressure. Everybody knows it's bullshit, but nobody ever questions it publicly. I see essential oils the same way as acupuncture. There's a place for it in society to show you care for a person who has anxiety or something being wrong and needing to be fixed. But the moment that it's used instead of an actual treatment, I have no toleration of people trying to put pressure on others. Treats nothing but hypochondria. Certain essential oils, when used in a diffuser and not on the skin, actually work to relax people and temporarily relieve anxiety. Essential oils of any kind on the skin will slough it off and not heal what age you. It's also important to understand that as humans, our minds are very, very prone to psychosomatic tendencies and the placebo effect. And if you think, oh no, that's something that's reserved for crazy people, get off your high horse, because the placebo effect is so powerful that in all scientific studies, we have to account for it. We have to literally make a base part of the study that people are being given drugs where they're told that it's gonna fix them, and they actually get fixed. You have to understand that our minds are so indicative of what happens to us that if our minds think something, it will affect us, even if there isn't an actual pharmaceutical chemical that is altering our consciousness. And if you just reject that all things have this effect on you, you're not going to understand why your environments control your life the way they do. It's really important to understand that. So essential oils, they work because it's an association with a smell. And what you do is you use essential oils to associate certain acts and parts of your lifestyle. And that makes this area in your brain that it can get more easily into a relaxed state because you have built a strong association of relaxed states and positivity with these specific smells and triggers. So it doesn't even matter if it isn't a drug that makes you feel good. It can still be something that reduces your anxiety. Unless you just want to view the world as, oh, you're just one of those people who thinks that nothing you see is affecting the chemicals in your brain. You know, nothing you think is affecting the chemicals in your brain. A reply to the essential oil things. Close friend of mine got a fungal skin rash using tea tree oil after the 2 different kinds of doctors prescribed did nothing. Tea tree oil is an antibacterial and a fungicide. Of course, it works well, as you can see by the actual medicine which is made out of it. Leaning your head back when you have a nosebleed, as response to what medical myth do people still believe? You do this if you enjoy blood running down your throat. What you need to do is lean forward and pinch your nostrils shut and start breathing from your mouth. Give it 5 to 10 minutes and the bleeding usually stops then. Also, not all nosebleeds are caused by dry air. They can be caused by enlarged blood vessels, which cauterization could fix, or they could be a symptom of a more serious condition. I very rarely get nosebleeds. Last time I got one, I tried the tip your head back thing in the toilet because that's what I'd always been told to do. The blood went straight back down my throat and I promptly projectile vomited it all over the bathroom wall. Never again. My grandma heavily believes that smearing butter on burns will help it out. If you're curious, no, it's not helpful. You're just making your already sensitive tissue more tasty to the bacteria that will probably try to infect your burn. I am 5 pictures of infected burns away from making her see how bad of an idea it is. One of my coworkers put mustard on a burn and ended up infected. She claimed it worked before. Maybe she didn't use the one with preservatives. Put natural honey on burns if you have no aloe vera or burn relief cream. It has natural anti-inflammatory properties. I'm the biggest baby when it comes to burn pain, but honey on the skin takes the sting away and reduces puffiness. Edit. I should add this is only for superficial burns, and you should be using natural honey, not with one with a lot of sugars. And yeah, if you get stung by a man of war, don't pee or get vinegar because you've got bigger problems. A response to what medical myth do people still believe by Dan. Putting a steak on a black eye helps it heal. Wait, that's a thing people... I thought that was just a joke. There's no way people believe that putting cold raw meat on your eye... Okay, I guess you would use some kind of plastic, like a plastic bag. Yeah. Ha. I thought people would do this to reduce the swelling, as you would do with the ice. So the cold steak would do the job, although you are right about the infection. I always remember seeing this in cartoons when I was a kid, but I never understood it. Thank you for clearing up a question from my childhood. Harvesting ice with a saw on a frozen lake was the only way, and you lose so much ice in shipping. It makes perfect sense. You couldn't just go to the freezer for your ice because there was no freezer. You had an ice box that kept food cold with ice that you got delivered every week, and that was all your ice. And it was likely cut from a frozen lake and shipped hundreds of miles to get there. And they lost a ton of it on the way because ice melts when it's hot. Shocker, I know. Meat, on the other hand, was much cheaper to get from your local butcher. A decent modern analogy for this might be imagining cutting open your refrigerator to get to its refrigerant and use that to reduce swelling instead of the available ice. I wish, but having done the whole weight loss thing, pretty sure genetics has something to do with where weight disappears, appears first, last, faster, slower. It's definitely interesting to watch the changes happen over time, but yeah, it turns out you can't do a ton of sit-ups and expect ripped abs. It'd be so nice to be able to pick and choose, because sometimes I just want to skip leg day. What people forget with the whole genetics, nature versus nurture argument is that most people who have a job or have had a job, have worked on a computer at some point. Most of us live incredibly lacking lives regarding physical activity. When you look at what a natural human, pre-Oltec, pre-millions of humans, when you look at the amount of physical activity these individuals had in their regular lives, they were walking a lot. They were running, they were regularly getting cardio every day for multiple hours. Individuals like this were getting like the equivalent of like 20 to 30, 40,000 steps as a normal person, right? So you can tell yourself that it's just your genetics because you work out more than other sedentary US people you know, but you have to understand that our bodies were not designed to sit. We were made to be moving almost constantly while we're conscious. We are not designed to sit around and not gain weight. So when people blame genetics, they tend to forget that, yeah, genetics do factor in, but what factors in more than anything else is the fact that we aren't running around every day, walking everywhere when we're awake. That's really what gets the energy and the cardio, and that's how humans are kind of made to be. When you're sitting around all the time and you're not getting any physical activity, then you're going to have these kind of problems because you're a human, and humans aren't designed to not move. And you may say, hey, I go to the gym. Yeah, maybe you go to the gym an hour a day. How many hours are in a day? There's 24, and if you sleep for 8 of them, there's still 16. So that means if you go to the gym an hour of every day, that's just an hour, 1/16 of your time being spent active. Regular, like pre-modernization humans were active for at least half, maybe up to like 3/4 of their day. You're only 1/16 if you go to the gym for an hour every single day. Now think about that if you really struggle with this genetics weight issue thing. Because it's not about just going to the gym. It's about figuring out how to incorporate constant movement into your life. What things do you do that you sit still for that you could do while you're walking or while you're jogging, etc.? This post, in response to what medical myth do people still believe, by Hyrulean Princess, that rhino horns and elephant tusks have medicinal values. It doesn't. They're made from the same stuff fingernails are, and they do fuck all. Actually had this argument with my sister-in-law, who is an actual nurse in the hospital. I'll never go to that hospital. Easy way to check this. Get your blood drawn. Inside the tubes, there are a vacuum. The blood coming out of the veins is dark red. That's how you know that your blood is not blue. My teacher told my class this in high school. She couldn't find an answer when I asked why my fingertips are red when I squeeze the blood to my fingertips. Veins look blue, or sometimes green, because of the way light penetrates the skin. Red wavelengths are longer than blue, so the red light travels deeper than the blue light does. Veins, being closer to the surface, better reflect the blue light. I probably explained that rather poorly, so here's an article about why veins look blue. Like how if you have 2 mirrors facing each other, it goes on forever, but starts to turn green further in. I believe this is because the film or glass in the mirror, but don't quote me on that. That's more due to the stuff mirrors are made of being slightly green. I love using my IR modified camera, but it makes for interesting people shots. Young kids look like porcelain dolls, or adults look like vampires due to the way IR penetrates the skin. That's the synthetic fluid that lubricates all the motors in your unit. You don't actually have blood in your veins or blue. You're just a robot and you don't know it yet. Medical diagrams usually show the veins in blue and the arteries in red. It's just artistic shorthand to show that arteries are carrying oxygenated blood to the tissues and the veins are carrying deoxygenated blood back to the lungs. Hey, I think it's the other way around. Or maybe not. Standing too close to the microwave gives you cancer. Edit, wow, I can't believe this is my first popular comment. Thanks. I have a slight fear of the microwave door exploding off, so I tend to stand off to the side anyway. I have no idea where this fear came from, but I figure better safe than sorry. Edit, this popular crap. In response to that, to be fair, in my first bachelor apartment with 2 roommates, we had an ancient microwave that, when turned on, caused the TV reception to go to shit. I've had that experience too. I also had a microwave, and when you used the microwave, it would kill the Wi-Fi in the house. That was super weird. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to post a Reddit article that you want read with a real human voice, or if you want me to try a different kind of voice, if you want me to try reading more deeper or faster or with more enthusiasm, let me know. I'm happy to experiment here. I want to learn how to narrate pretty well. Narrating is a very useful talent, and for any of you interested in earning money online and all that, I strongly recommend. If you're interested in using software to help you run a YouTube channel, please contact us. We want to talk with you. Go to the About section of this page and click on the business email for business inquiries and do the little CAPTCHA code, and then you'll get our email and send us an email and we will chat with you. We would love to have a Zoom call or a video chat to talk about what you're trying to do. What we're trying to set up is have software that you can use, and it helps you make content. It doesn't automate content, because if you automate content, you can't monetize it on YouTube. It literally says in YouTube's terms of use, automated content cannot be monetized. So you have to figure out how can you use technology to allow you to create content quickly without it being fully automated. How can you keep your human element into it? Which is why, as you guys have noticed, in some of these videos I will actually respond and say stuff, and I kind of try and add my human flair to the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.